thank you.
All right. So what you are looking at is Kubeflow, as I'm sure you're all aware. But this is Kubeflow running on a bare metal Kubernetes installation using Equinix Metal. The kind of premise, the motivation for this work was essentially Jeff and Marlo from the Kubeflow on-prem SIG kind of came to my group and said, we're looking to try to use some automation for creating an on-prem cluster and running some kind of like integration and regression testing on it in some way to make sure that Kubeflow works with bare metal installations. And so I took a stab at writing some Terraform to script all of this out and spin up a cluster, install Kubeflow on it. And just clicking through here, this is just the default user account here, suitable for testing, not for production. But clicking through here, most of these, last I checked, all these pages work. We've got a public IP address, working using kubevip, that you can access some more planned workers to see what it looks like to get this set up with a DNS provider and SSL, TLS on that domain, so that the secure, I think the secure access, secure cookies features of Kubeflow will work properly, as well as general security. But this is what it looks like. Kind of show you some of the code. Like I said, this is all done in Terraform. This Terraform module utilizes the Equinix K8's Metal module, which I added a couple of changes, a couple of features to that module in order to make this work. It's the module itself for creating the cluster can be a bit flaky. It will create it'll create a cluster just fine, but updates to the cluster itself, adding nodes, things like that, can sometimes cause the cluster to be dropped and then recreated. And so the kind of next step in this process would be to split this cluster creation from the Kubeflow installation. But so we create the cluster, use a Helm chart called local path provisioner. What this does is it creates a persistent volume storage class for using the node disk space for your persistent volume claims that Kubeflow requires. Again, it's a really kind of basic baseline installation for getting these things to work. And then we go step by step with Terraform. Terraform has a customized provider, and so we run the customization builds for each kind of component of Kubeflow. I did a curl of GitHub that you can do in any automate, any shell of your choice. Curl GitHub and grab the manifests. I'm using 1.4.0, and that's the version that's running here. And had to make a couple of changes. I've got a PR into the manifests, Kubeflow manifest repo, with changes to remove namespaces from cluster scoped resources. With Terraform installation that will cause errors, and then a couple of other patches. I had to remove one patch in order to make Istio Ingress Gateway act as a load balancer service instead of a no port service. Small things like that. There are actually about 20 Git changes between the current 1.4.0 and my changes. And I have merged, or I've got a PR in to merge several of those changes back into Kubeflow manifest proper. But yeah, we OIDC, all the features that you see in the UI, those are all present here in the Terraform installation. So I was like I said, the motivation for this work is mainly for automation regression testing, not suitable for production use yet. There are a couple of efforts I'm aware of to have a more production ready installation of Kubeflow on bare metal. I know Plural has some work that they're doing for that. But I figure this is a kind of good stopgap for basic CI/CD and things like that. So I want to turn it over to the community, to everybody for questions or comments you might have. Be happy to answer. Yeah.
So is the Kubeflow version like 1.4.1?
This is Kubeflow version 1.4.0. So 1.141 came out after I right after I'd kind of taken a break for the taking some PTO for the holidays. So I haven't tested it with 1.4.1. But the idea in my mind, at least, is this is dynamic enough. You pass in the Kubeflow version as a variable into the Terraform configuration, and so you can curl down whatever version of the manifest that you want to in test. So this could be as automated as you want it to be for testing and stuff.
Yeah, I think it is great. I will try it out. Thanks.
Oh, and I almost forgot the current this repo that I was demoing with the module is accessible at GitHub/Kubeflow on-prem/Kubeflow Metal. It doesn't have the actual Kubeflow manifest in the repo. The manifests are pretty massive and cause a bit of a strain on Git. But I also don't want to, I don't want anybody to feel bound to a particular version. That I wrote this in such a way that theoretically, again, you can pull down whatever version of the manifest that you like. And the Terraform will access that. You just pass in the version. As long as it matches this Kubeflow/manifest-whatever path, you're good to go as far as doing the customized build. As long as the manifests are correct as far as namespaces for cluster scope resources and things like that. So yeah, this is where you can find all the source code. It's fully public, and I don't know if anybody's taking notes, but I'll paste a link to that GitHub repo here in the Zoom chat. Any other questions?
Very interesting presentation, Keith. Very good job first. It's very interesting. One small question from what you mentioned. So where does the manifest live? How does Terraform apply the specific manifest? Are you pointing there from the manifest repo? Are you pulling them locally? How can you finally fetch the manifests?
Great question. So for my testing and for kind of the way I envision this being used is if you think about like a GitHub action or some sort of CI tool, you would curl the manifest down. Got the command saves here actually. You just make the directory and then do a curl of the GitHub manifest ref that you're planning to use, and then you can extract that tar zip file. You can't. At one point, I tried to do all the fetching of the manifest within Terraform, but that creates some issues with how Terraform works and its dependency graph. So you have to get the manifest outside of the actual Terraform process. But once that's done, I think the first thing we install is Cert Manager. Cert Manager is the first in the dependency chain. So all you have to do is pass in the path locally to where the manifests are, and you can install it that way. I know that Kubeflow has other distributions like Argo Flows and things like of that nature. Maybe a kind of a next iteration for the community would be to create a set of manifests that are known to work with on-prem and support that. Not sure. I'm for what it's worth. I'm new to Kubeflow. This is a project that I just wanted to donate my time and see if I could help solve a problem that I was made aware of in the community. So I'm happy to donate this back for any other problems or use cases that come up. This is free for the community to use.
I think it's very interesting that the fact that you first fetch the manifest and then apply them, because at least for on-prem, this is what a lot of folks would do, especially if you want to deploy Kubeflow in an air-gapped environment. So you'd first have to fetch all the manifests and then ensure that your images live in a local repository, then change the images so that you use private images and then apply it. So the way it goes, I think it makes sense, especially for on-prem installations that might also need to have air-gapped environments or custom registries. So the way I look at it, and it's something we're discussing in Manifest, is a next step here would be having an easy way to parse all of the images so someone can specify a custom repository to use for the images. So
Yeah.
I think it's on the right direction, the way I see it. Nice job.
Yes, thank you. And yeah, I agree with air gapped environments and things of that nature. I also want to mention that I wrote this to kind of be eventually used as a module. So decoupling the cluster creation and the manifest application. I think the goal would eventually to have two modules that can be composed. One would provide you your cluster. The other would take in manifest from an air-gapped environment from some repository of some sorts that is provided out of band, and then just install manifest wherever you set your path to be. And that would be relatively simple to accomplish. I kind of see this Kubeflow metal repo as a first step, as a proof of concept that this can be done and exposed and used in a reasonable way. And from there, people who are a lot closer to the use cases, like you mentioned, dealing with those kinds of air-gapped environments, they can start adapting this, forking it, using it for their own use cases. But it does, I think, in general, when it comes to writing software, it's often a great first step to prove that it can be done. And I think that's what this project does.
Cool.
Josh, how are you doing on time? I think I had 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think we're probably at that part of the time. What are potential next steps? I know you guys have meetings. Is there anything that you would like folks to participate in, review or?
Yeah, so this project is something that I've put a good bit of time in. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to continue that at the same level just because of some rule changes on my end. But I would absolutely love for the Kubeflow community to take this and embrace it. It's completely open and separate it from myself. So the more people who, I think the Manifest Working Group, anybody who's using Kubeflow or would love to use Kubeflow in an on-prem capacity, I'd love for them to get their hands in. I can assist in at advisory capacity and help and kind of parse how this works. I've got a README kind of detailing some of the caveats. But this is something, again, I see myself as donating to the Kubeflow community to decide how best to use it and apply it for stakeholders.
Are you planning for making it like managed Kubernetes services like on GKE, or are you strictly like are you planning to make it for GK and other EKS or other things?
Yeah, great question. So the way I envision this as the direct next step for this would be to split out the cluster creation and the Kubeflow installation. Because then once you do that, you've got a general Kubeflow installation module that you can use on any Kubernetes cluster. As long as you have kubeconfig information, your CA certificate, your URL, and things like that, you can install Kubeflow via Terraform. And that's useful in and of itself for GKE installations, EKS, or Equinix. The contract for the Kubeflow installation, in my mind, should just be give me a cluster, I'll put Kubeflow on it using the manifest. And I think that's a direct next step for this project.
Yeah. Do you know that GCP and AWS has its own manifest, and like I looked at GCP blueprints, which is in the Kubeflow organization. So like they use like Anthos service mesh, and they have like own custom GCP elements or resources that they use. So like it's different than the manifest.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I'm not super familiar with that, but if that's something that the community would like to add to this functionality, I'm sure there are lots of smart people with more experience in those particular use cases that can add input and provide guidance on how best to make that happen.
Yeah. So Spotify made a Terraform module for deploying on GCP, but they haven't maintained it. It could be like work on developing a new GCP Terraform Kubeflow module. Are you interested in?
I'm not sure I caught the last end of that, but I do. I think that that's definitely something that this can maybe inspire or provide an example of a general module and how that can be accomplished with Terraform. Josh, like you said, I think we're right here at time,
Thank you.
so I'll turn it back over to you for the next topic. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. And I believe the on-prem working groups get together every Thursday. Jeff, what's the time on that? Is it still 9:30 on Thursday Central Time?
We've been moving it around, so you need to check the on-prem channel in Slack. We're trying to find a better time for it, but there doesn't seem to be a better time.
Okay, so check the on-prem or the on-prem Slack channel. Okay, let's move on in the interest of getting a few things done around the Kubeflow 1.5 release. Thank you very much, Keith and Jeff, for that update. Kubeflow 1.5 status and discussion. I think the first thing we have on here is Kimonis. We had a release team meeting, and perhaps you might want to give an update. I've kind of captured some dates and the dependencies, but I'll let you kind of update how you want to provide information here. Is that okay?
Sure. So we're in the first week of feature freeze. Things are progressing okay. I'm also testing the manifest locally and preparing the APR for integrating with GitHub, so we run the test automatically. I'm testing on Kubernetes 1.20 and 21 with Istio 1.11 and Cert Manager 1.5. Everything is going as planned until now. I haven't seen any major issues. I'm running some tests to create like pipelines and kind of we had a node, as we've commented in the past, we had a notebook that we use in 1.3. So I'm converting that to Python, and things look very promising right now. I haven't bumped into any major problems. So one ask for working groups is if they have any issues that they think that this is an RC0 and we're still in the feature freeze, and we expect working groups, if they have open PRs, to finalize them during feature freeze and get them merged so that we have everything merged and ensure it's tested. So if working groups have any features that are pending and they believe that they could affect the release, maybe we need to test them as well since we're testing the release. If they have such issues they would like to raise it to our attention, that would be perfect. We have two issues like that for notebooks, which is one for updating the notebook idleness and another one for refactoring a little bit the web app for notebooks to give you full support for any type of storage like NFS using existing volumes, etc. We're almost done with the reviews, but we're extensively looking at that as well because it might introduce bugs in the last minute, and we're really focusing on that and trying to not jeopardize the release with these fixes. So if other working groups have issues like that, it would be great to also expose them so that we can have it in mind. So that's the current state with the release. Next week we will also start the manifest testing week, where we will again keep on testing the manifest more thoroughly and push with the tests. And then if everything goes right, is okay, we don't have any major issues, we will also pass the baton to the distributions to get feedback from them as well, since we will have battle tested the release as a community to get some last feedback before releasing. So for the dates, it's as Josh has mentioned over there. So February 9th, we're going to start the manifest testing. And actually, let me double check I'm not doing anything wrong. Yeah. And then on 16th, we're starting the distribution testing. So that's the status with what's going on. I want to give a green check until this point with the release. Although, if you know something that we don't or something that could break things, please give a heads up about it. And we've also started looking at the documentation as well. I'll give a link to. I'll also give a link to the issue we have for the tracking release, so people to also follow that as well. And we've also started tracking documentation changes. So it's just like the one Shannon just sent. If also you think there's some work that you need to do that we need to keep in track as we're wrapping up the docs, feel free to give to write that on the issue so that Shannon and I can also keep track of that as we're closing the docs. So that's pretty much the state. So if anyone has any questions, we're happy to discuss more.
Hello, Kimonas. Thank you so much for going through the release process. I have a question about the Kubernetes support. Do we have any pending item for supporting 1.22?
At least for notebooks working group, as far as I know, we have some of the CRDs which we still need to bump to the newer version, to the V1 version. I want to double check if we need to ensure that they have as far as I know, small technical detail, we need to have an open API schema in order to also bump to the V1 version. I need to double check with some of our alpha components if they are available. That's the state for notebooks. And I don't have as well a clear image for the other working groups, if they are ready for 1.22. From what I know, AutoML is ready, but Andre can confirm. And I think that pipelines as well.
Right.
Okay.
Do
and
we
we're
know,
also
sorry, do we know anything else? Any other Kubeflow components need to be upgraded to 1.22?
And the last one is the training operators. So, and I also remember when applying the manifest, I've seen some CRDs that complain about 21 support. And it's also not just the CRDs, but some other APIs like cluster roles, etc. So I haven't had the time. I'll create actually an issue for this to get some definitive answer from each working group so that we can at least know what's the work. But yeah, from my understanding, it's at this point notebooks and maybe training operators that are lacking for the 22 support.
James, I had a question for pipelines. When you say KFP is ready for 1.22, does that also include Tecton?
No, I don't know about the Tecton status.
Okay, yeah, that's important to clarify there.
Oh, sounds good. When I talk about the KFP backend is about the Kubeflow pipelines repository. And yeah, I think the Tecton is like the Tecton working group should be able to answer that.
Oh, so there's a work group just for Tecton?
The team, yeah. I should use the team like the Tecton team should be able to answer.
Okay, all right, thanks.
I think it's not exactly a working group. I think it's a sub-project of the pipelines folks. But yes, there's a dedicated team and a dedicated repository, Kubeflow/KFP/Tecton for that.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Yihong here, and I actually work on the KFP Tecton. Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, the question was whether KFP Tecton based is 1.22 Kubernetes ready or not.
Oh, that's a good question. I'll give. I think you are on the Kubeflow Slack channel, right? I can get back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
I
no
think the manifest as a team probably we all want to know.
Yeah, because so far our development is on the 1.21. Yeah, but I think we can verify the 1.22. Yeah, for you.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
I have a question for the distribution leads. Are they prepared, or what's their environment set up for? Are they ready for 120 and 121 testing?
For Maricto, we're going to do 1.20, maybe 1.21. So that's the current, and most probably the next mini KF is also going to do 1.20.1. Also, Andre just commented that AutoML is ready for 1.20, just for the record as well, to have this information as well.
So for Canonical, we're going to be testing on 121 and probably also 122, just to see what the current issues are and if we can help out to fix them as soon as possible.
For Google, I'm planning to test on 1.21.
For Red Hat OpenShift, we do 4.9, which is 1.22, but we dial back for specific Kubeflow testing for 1.20, 1.21.
For IBM, IKS, we test on 121.
Thanks for all the feedback.
Anybody from Nutanix, Oracle, Azure, AWS? Okay, well, we've got good information there. That's fantastic. And any other questions or any other updates for Kimonis here on 1.5? I know typically we would then go over into documentation, but before we go to docs on 1.5, any questions for Kimonis?
Oh yeah, it's one last thing. I mentioned it yesterday, but I forgot to mention it here as well. For anyone using the Kubeflow manifest, a small note that I've still kept I've included the kserve manifest, and I haven't deleted the kf serving ones. So we're thinking that since this is going to be a transition release, at least we will keep the manifest from kf serving as well, so that people, if someone is not like ready or wants to stick to 1.6.1 for now, just to have the option. But I'm also including the kserve ones, and I'm working as we speak on including the models web app from kserve to have everything in the Kubeflow installation as well. Kserve 0.7.
So
And also the transition script.
Yeah, there's also transition script that we will also be encouraging users to use if they want to also migrate from kf serving to kserve, with a very diagonal look. It recreates new inference service objects for the new APIs based on your existing objects. There will be some downtime, but it's something to also look at. That's it from me.
okay. All right. Documentation, Shannon. Fantastic. You've created a tracking issue.
Yeah, not much to add on top of what Kimonis said, although I will make another plea for anyone who knows of a docs update that is required for the 1.5 release, whether you're a working group lead or someone else, please do follow up on the tracking issue 3130 and give us a heads up so that we can track and plan for those. if necessary, we can do solicitation within the community for help getting those docs written. But we really need those with subject matter expertise on each of the components to flag what changes are necessary. If you just want to create a stub issue just to note that a change is necessary, that's totally fine. We can follow up and pull more information to figure out exactly what needs to be done. Thanks.
So I think this is fantastic that we have already, like, I think we had talked about, you know, here are the top 10 things that we know we're going to have to do in every release. And we have this list. So, you know, as people come in, that we can break up the work, or other people can take over and do some of this. But I don't think we've ever really had this list before, which probably becomes a template for when we do like 1.6. So is there, you know, when you look at these kind of items here, are these all pretty repeatable items, or do you think, you know, most of the ones that are in this tracking issue, do you think, you know, we'll be able to rinse and repeat with?
Yep, I pulled those from the 1.4 tracking issue, not all of them, but the ones that are, you know, related to website plumbing. We made some changes in the 1.4 release that made it a little bit easier. You know, we don't we're not dependent on cutting a branch in order to keep the docs website up to date, because website is now pulling from latest. You know, some of those kinds of changes that really helped smooth things out. So yep, absolutely, these are rinse and repeat issues for the most part. I think the top 5 issues that are listed there are rinse and repeat.
And we had talked yesterday about, as you just mentioned, simplifying and making sure that the docs are coming out a bit earlier. We feel pretty comfortable at this point that we have a plan for the docs to come out when the code is available in the early March. And like we learned some lessons from last time, maybe, I guess, and we feel better about where we're at, I guess.
Yes, for sure. So we have more folks who can approve PRs. We developed a pretty good working relationship, those of us who invest time in docs. Last time, we're out a little bit more in front of the issues that need to be addressed. As far as will the docs all be ready to go when the code is ready to ship, that is entirely dependent on folks getting in their docs changes needed issues in this tracking issue, so that we actually have a complete view of the work that's required.
So let me ask this: if we're looking at March 8th for the release date, when would you think the docs do the docs need to be kind of finished a week before that, as much as possible?
Well, my take is that products ready to ship when the docs are ready to ship. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a week in advance, but the more that we have things ready to go in the docs and can make incremental progress in them all along, the better we'll be able to hit that March 8th target.
Okay, got it.
I think Shannon, you should like focus on KSR as like it is released and the docs are also available. Yeah, get it at the.
I'm sorry, can you, I'm not sure I understand the comment.
Yeah, so KSR 0.7 has released with the past version of wasn't released but was being released earlier. So like everything is available. So could you like prioritize KSR? Yeah, as everything is available.
Okay, I understand. I think I understand what you're saying. And we will make sure to, I mean, KServe is one of the 2 so far working groups that has a tracking issue. So it's already getting priority on getting that docs work looked at.
Thanks.
One last request. Potentially, as we're going through the docs, and if we get to a place where some docs aren't done, are we going to have a way to say this is a P0, this is a P1, P2, or whatever? Will there be, is there some way that we can identify blocking docs issues that we will hold the release for?
Ultimately,
Nope.
that's up to the release lead and to the working groups as to whether it's worth holding the release for those. I would feel a lot more comfortable about going ahead with a release, and it's not up to me, it's up to the community, but I would feel a lot more comfortable about going ahead with the release, even if the docs work wasn't complete, if we had a clear signal that the docs work was underway and in progress. Kimonis, but that's really more of a question, I think, for you to address.
Yes, I think it's the same mostly with last release. Maybe it makes sense to try and document this more. So a same answer I can think right now is since we have also a docs phase, if we have added items that we know that these are the things we want to merge, and the work required for these changes makes sense to be done like the remaining 2 or 3 weeks, then yes, we can based on these work items prioritize and discuss if something is P0. Now, the fact that we want to release does not mean that let's see what's pending and make everything a P0 at least, or any random work item on the website and make it a P0 because we're having a release. The reason we're trying to have a documentation phase so that we can try and identify what are the issues that are important for a release, like documenting new features, documenting fixes, documenting changes in version. These are the things that in my mind will dictate if we should block the release for a docs item or not. Now, there could be other efforts for, like, let's refactor the docs, but ideally I would not like us to block if we will have other pull requests that hugely change the docs, I would say let's actually do them after the refactoring, after the release, and let's at these last weeks let's only focus on issues that have to do with the release. And this is how I'm going to see if we will need to prioritize issues that have to do with the release, features, fixes, version bumps, etc.
Yeah, I like that. I guess I was just trying to get to a place where we all had a common language and said, and hey, this is a P0, let's get it knocked out. And everybody agrees that P0 is a must-have or blocking issue. But we can work through that a little bit further as we go along, if that's okay. I think we're ahead of the game, and I appreciate you guys' effort to organize this. I think we're in better shape than we've been in a while, right? So thank you, Shannon.
Sure. Yep. I think on the larger answer, Josh, to your question is really just that it's and Kimonis was talking, speaking to this as well. It's really just a matter of effective communication around amongst those who are the subject matter experts on a particular issue as to whether we need to hold or not. And so we just need to make sure that we're surfacing any missing content in docs and getting those who have an opinion and a deeper understanding of the issue to weigh in on that discussion.
You expressed it perfectly, Simon. Thanks.
Okay. What's next? Good stuff. Anything else on documentation? Okay. Kubeflow roadmap update with 1.5 features. We have a PR for this. I think we're getting close to to being able to post this. There's some detail that each of the working groups have provided. So I'd like to get this updated. And I think we're at the, looks good to me, and this should be posted soon. So we could look at that, or we could look at it sometime in the future. But I would recommend that if you're trying to articulate why 1.5 is important and the valuable new features, that this PR does highlight some of those and then give you a place to go and find details. Any questions on the Kubeflow roadmap? Fantastic. Okay, soon we'll be starting on 1.6, Kimona, so I'm just to process at the same time. Okay, so looks like we have another last item here, and before we open up for general discussion, the Kubeflow or the KServe survey, user survey, which appears that we have a link here, and Vedant, believe that you put this on here. Is this correct?
Yes. Can you open the link? So
Yeah, let me
yeah,
see
just
if
copy it, paste.
let me see if the link works for me. Hold on. There you go. So do you want me to
Yeah.
walk through this, or are you just showing, you know, you want people to enter their email, choose their
Yeah. So
role?
everyone, please fill out this survey, KServe survey form. It is important for us to like improve the KServe product. If you want anything, you could like mention it in there. Yeah, please answer the questions. Thanks.
And how many questions are there?
There are I think like 14 questions and like 3 free form questions. So 17 in total, I think, but only like 3 or 4 are compulsory.
So Vedant, will the result of the survey be shared?
Yes, it will be shared.
So this is primarily what Dan and Animesh, you and me have kind of put these along with the rest of the KServe community is reviewed. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, fantastic. Thanks for that update, and thanks for leading that effort. And we'll get exposure to the community. And when do you expect to provide feedback or the results? You're going to leave the request for responses open for a few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks,
Yeah,
or
like you said, like 1 month, like you kept Kubeflow server open for 1 month. So could you please also like publish it on the Kubeflow mailing list and also on your LinkedIn, share it on your everyone, please share it on your social media so it can reach to maximum number of people.
Got it. Okay. Will do. We'll get some information back. I think that's pretty much all the items that we had on the list of agenda. Are there any other walk-on topics? Anything else that people would like to discuss? Okay. Well, hopefully this was action-packed. Really do enjoy and especially like when we have guest speakers like Keith today. And always want to make one last request. If there's any new members that would like to introduce themselves, always interested in the folks that are showing up and their experience to date. So before we close out, just one last ask, is there anybody new to the community that wants to say hello? Okay, I think that's it for the call today. Appreciate everyone's time. Look forward to speaking with you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Josh. Bye.